Welcome back to the TSF Entertainment Channel, and we are back to talk about Raising Kanan, episode 6. We got an exclusive picks breakdown. Let's jump on into it. Episode synopsis: Rock tries to overcome Marvin's poor judgment. Kanan recruits Jukebox to help him get justice for his friend. Unique assembles the final pieces of his plan. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into it and see what the picks are showing us this week. Here we have the Thomas family probably meeting at Cafe Vus. They are probably trying to put something together in honor of Famous, and they're waiting on Kanan to show up. When Kanan arrives, he sees his family, and he heads to the table and sits down with Jukebox. Him and Juke probably have a discussion, trying to figure out who could have possibly done this to Fame, why, and what they're going to do about it. Here is probably where Juke probably lets him know that, listen, I'm finna ride with you on this. We're going to figure out what happened to Fame. Here we have the scene from the trailer where the Thomas family is pouring one out for Famous, and they are just remembering him. They're probably listening to some of his music at Cafe Vus and just trying to be a support system for Kanan because they know that he's probably having a hard time with this. Here in this scene right here, you have Lou and Rock is telling Lou that, listen, like, Kanan's not going to back down off of this. He's probably going to want some revenge for what happened to his friend. Lou informs her that he is not the only one that wants some revenge. Rock tells Lou that, listen, I thought that you were no longer a part of this life. And Lou tells Rock that I'll make an exception for Fame. In this scene here, we probably have Marvin pulling up to Early Tyler's spot to get his cut for the work that Early Tyler is doing for him out in Corona. He's probably going to use the opportunity to ask Early Tyler, does he know anything about what happened to Famous and what the streets are saying? Of course, Early Tyler is not going to have any info for Marvin, but something in this scene right here is going to probably make Marvin look at Early Tyler a little differently. Seems like he has an expression on his face of non-belief of whatever Early Tyler is telling him. He's probably going to ask him more about those hits too that happened at the restaurants. So we'll see. In this scene right here, we have Unique. Looks like he's assembled a crew and he's pulling back up to his old spot, which is the tailor shop. Here we're going to see Unique transform back into the old Unique. He's getting his jewelry and he's putting the final pieces to his plan together so he can pull up on Rock. Here in this scene right here, as we heard in last week's episode, the Afghan connect Hafiz wants to meet with Rock's partner. She's taking him to Stefano, and they're celebrating their new business dealings together. Here is probably where Stefano is going to inform Hafiz that he is associated with the other mob families, the other crime families, and they're probably not going to be happy with him about backing Rock, and that there's probably going to be some backlash with him backing Rock. Here in this scene right here, we have Phil Russo, who's probably meeting with Unique, letting Unique know that Rock probably has a new supplier now and that she's working with Stefano and that he cannot take out Stefano. However, if there is any issues with Stefano, rough him up a little bit, cause some problems for him, but you can't take him out. They're made men. So we'll see what Unique does with that. Here in this scene right here, we have Lou, who's probably at one of his meetings. He's probably having a hard time processing what has happened to Fame and probably maybe even tempted to want to drink. So he probably needs to pull up to a quick meeting to get that support that he needs to maintain his sobriety. Here in this scene, you have Rock at her house. Most likely, Kanan's probably over there, or either Marvin. They're probably having some discussions about Fame and probably what Kanan's next steps are going to be. Rock knows that this is going to be a problem, and she's probably going to try to comfort Kanan if this is Kanan that she is speaking to, and Kanan is not going to be here for that. Not much to go off on this scene, so we'll see. Here you have Rock meeting with Uncle Irwin, who's Richard and Sonny's uncle, probably trying to reassure him that the things that has been going on has been put to an end. She's got a new connect. She's going to need to move twice as much work. She's going to need to get into all of the restaurants. And she's probably trying to convince him that everything that has happened is over and that they can continue to do business as normal. Uncle Irwin is probably going to have even more hesitation given what has happened to Terry. So we'll see where that goes. Here you have Rock and Marvin meeting. Rock is probably telling Marvin at this point, look, you've made a mess of things. This whole situation with Terry, I told you that this was not how it needed to be handled. Marvin's probably going to tell Rock his threats about going to the police. And Rock's going to tell him, look, you got to get David in order and get this product moving. We have the new supply that's getting ready to come in, and we need to get it moving through the restaurants. Here you see Marvin that's trying to meet with David, who's probably 2 sheets in the wind, and trying to appeal to him that we need to get this product back out. Then again, David might be a little happy that Terry's gone because the business is now his. So eventually what's going to end up having to happen is the Thomas family is going to have to take this on because David is not going to be a reliable source for them to move the product through the restaurants. Here you have Kanan, who's continuing to stash his loot, and he's probably at his storage, putting away even more money. We heard Snap and Pop tell him that he needed to have reserves. So Kanan is continuing to build his own empire to separate himself from Rock. Here you have Kanan that's meeting with OC. Kanan is tired of OC at this point. OC's probably still asking him more questions, as we know he's working with Unique. So OC's probably still trying to get answers out of Kanan, and Kanan's going to be like, look, the only thing that you can do for me right now is see what you can find out about what happened to Fame. That is Kanan's only priority right now, and he's not focused on all this stuff that OC is talking about. OC might want to be careful. Here in this scene right here, you got Juke that's practicing. You know, she's got a strap in her hand and she's getting ready to do what they're going to do because they have already came to the conclusion that they need to hit the streets and find out what has happened to Fame. Somebody's got to pay the price for what has happened to Famous, and Kanan and Juke are going to get to the bottom of it. Here in this scene, we saw from the trailer that the kids that were out on the basketball court is where Juke and Kanan is going to pull up on them, and we see Juke shoot the ball out of the net. She's going to pull the strap on some of the kids on the court, and she's going to try to see if they can get some information out of them about what they've heard about Fame, what they know, what they've seen, and try to see who is possibly responsible for what has happened to Fame. It could be possible that this is Freddie's old crew that they're pulling up on, and they're thinking that they're the likely suspects of what could have possibly happened to Fame. Juke and Kanan are on demon time right now. All right, guys, that is it for this week's exclusive picks and breakdown. Drop y'all thoughts and theories in the comments. Make sure y'all hit that like button, share the video out. Join us Sunday at 6 p.m. as we break down this episode. All right, guys, we look forward to reading your comments, and we'll see you on Sunday.